First contact and betrayal. The stars had always called to humanity. For centuries, we'd reached toward them with telescopes and probes, with poetry and dreams. When we finally mastered faster-than-light travel in 2189, it was as if the entire species released a collective breath. The universe was ours to explore, and we did so with the wide-eyed wonder of children stepping into a vast playground. Our colony ships spread outward in all directions, establishing outposts on distant worlds. We were careful, methodical. Before claiming any planet, extensive surveys confirmed no indigenous sentient life existed. Humanity had learned from its own bloody past. We would not be conquerors. We would be explorers, scientists, pioneers. For 50 years, humanity flourished among the stars. Our technology advanced rapidly as we adapted to the challenges of interstellar existence. We encountered fascinating ecosystems, cataloged thousands of new species, and established 27 thriving colony worlds. Earth remained our ancestral home, but humanity had become something more. A species of many worlds, united in peaceful expansion. Then we found them, or rather, they found us. The Galactic Consortium had existed for millennia, 12 distinct species bound together in what they called harmonious cooperation. Their technology outpaced ours by centuries. Their territory spanned thousands of star systems. Their first contact message spoke of peace, of welcoming humanity to the greater community of spacefaring races. We were ecstatic. The dream of finding others among the stars had driven us forward since the first radio telescopes scanned the heavens. Our diplomats prepared for months before the first meeting, ensuring every detail of protocol was perfect. No one wanted to offend our new cosmic neighbors. Ambassador Elena Chen led the Earth delegation to the neutral meeting point at Proxima Centauri. She brought gifts representing human culture, music, art, scientific knowledge. The consortium representatives, tall, avian Laxcori, and the silicon-based Veldrin, greeted her with what appeared to be equal enthusiasm. "You have advanced quickly," said High Speaker Talavor of the Laxcori, his feathered head crest rising in what we later learned was amusement. "Most species require millennia to achieve what you have in mere centuries." Ambassador Chen smiled. "We are eager learners." "So we have observed," replied the Veldrin representative, its crystalline body reflecting the starlight in hypnotic patterns. For 2 years, relations flourished. We traded knowledge, established embassies, and began integrating our networks. Humans visited consortium worlds as honored guests. Several consortium species established permanent missions on Earth. The exchange of technologies was carefully managed. The consortium insisted on a gradual process to prevent cultural shock. Colonel Marcus Reeves of Earth Defense Force never trusted them. His reports to the United Earth government warned of discrepancies in the consortium's historical accounts, of subtle inconsistencies in their diplomatic communications. He noted how they seemed particularly interested in human military capacity, in our resource extraction methods, in our population distribution. "They're studying us like a specimen," he wrote in his final assessment, "not as equals." His warnings were filed away. Humanity was too intoxicated with the promise of galactic brotherhood to heed cautionary voices. The attack came on October 17, 2241. Later, we would learn that the date had no special significance to the consortium. We were simply prepared enough by then. Our defenses integrated with their systems, our ships upgraded with their civilian technologies, our colonies expanded to their suggestions. 73 consortium warships emerged from hyperspace near Mars. Similar fleets appeared simultaneously at each human colony world. There was no declaration of war, no final diplomatic communication. They simply opened fire. Earth's orbital defenses lasted 17 minutes. The Mars colony held out for 22. New Terra, our most distant and heavily fortified colony, managed to fight for nearly 6 hours before the last bunker fell silent. In a single day, humanity lost 83% of its population. Those who survived did so by luck or desperation. Colonel Reeves was among them, commanding a small research station buried deep in Europa's ice. As the massacre unfolded across the solar system, he ordered the station to go dark. All transmissions ceased. All external systems powered down. For weeks, the survivors on Europa and other hidden outposts across human space huddled in darkness, listening to the consortium methodically hunt down the remaining pockets of humanity. The enemy messages, now translated and understood, revealed the truth. We were never meant to join their consortium. We were to be harvested. Human adaptability makes them dangerous, one intercepted message stated. Their genetic potential and reproductive rate threaten long-term consortium stability. Complete extinction is the only prudent option. Reeves gathered the survivors on Europa. Scientists, engineers, a few military personnel. They think they know what humans are capable of. He told them, his voice steadied despite the horror they'd witnessed. They've studied our past wars, our technology, our conventional tactics, but they've never seen humans with nothing left to lose. What followed was perhaps the most remarkable transformation in our species' long history of conflict. The survivors abandoned conventional military doctrine. With no hope of matching the consortium's firepower or numbers, they turned to something else: humanity's boundless capacity for innovation in the face of extinction. Dr. Eliza Thorne, a physicist who'd been studying quantum entanglement, proposed the first breakthrough. Their shields block physical projectiles and energy weapons, she said, but they don't account for quantum state manipulation. From the remnants of her research equipment, the Europa team developed the Q-bomb, a weapon that didn't destroy matter but altered its quantum signature, effectively erasing it from our reality. The first prototype was smaller than a human fist. Meanwhile, on distant Proxima, another group of survivors led by Marine Captain Adia Okonkwo discovered something about consortium biology. The silicon-based Veldrin couldn't distinguish between certain radio frequencies the humans could easily perceive. The amphibious Netheri had no concept of three-dimensional tactical thinking due to evolutionary development in their homeworld's shallow seas. Every species has blind spots, Captain Okonkwo told her ragtag militia. We find them, we exploit them, we survive. One by one, small human resistance cells established contact with each other through methods the consortium couldn't detect. Quantum-entangled communication nodes, coded patterns in stellar radiation, even modifications to the natural radiation signatures of certain isotopes. A network formed, fragile but growing. For 2 years, humanity hid, planned, and prepared. We scavenged technology from abandoned consortium outposts. We studied their patterns, their weaknesses. We built weapons unlike anything either species had deployed before. Then, on the anniversary of the massacre, humanity struck back. The target was a small consortium outpost established in the ruins of the Mars colony. It housed primarily Lax-Cori researchers cataloging human artifacts and a security contingent of Veldrin warriors. They had no reason to expect danger. As far as they knew, humanity had been reduced to a handful of survivors being hunted to extinction. 5 small ships, barely larger than shuttles, approached from different vectors. They didn't register on consortium sensors because they weren't fully in our reality. Dr. Thorne's quantum displacement technology kept them 99% phased into an alternate dimension, just solid enough to maintain coherence. The consortium's first warning came when quantum displacement mines materialized inside their shield perimeters. By then, it was too late. The explosions weren't designed to destroy structures, but to create specific frequency vibrations that shattered Veldrin bodies on a molecular level, while simultaneously disrupting the neural pathways of Lax-Cori brains. Human soldiers, wearing armor scavenged and modified from dead consortium troops, moved through the paralyzed outposts with cold efficiency. They took no prisoners. They salvaged everything of value. Before leaving, they left a single message broadcast on all consortium frequencies. You should have finished the job. The news of the Mars attack spread through consortium space like wildfire. Initial reports were met with disbelief. How could primitive humans, supposedly on the verge of extinction, strike with such devastating precision? More attacks followed, each more terrifying than the last. A consortium supply depot in the Tau Ceti system vanished completely. Quantum shifted into another dimension. A diplomatic vessel carrying 3 consortium elders was found drifting in space, its crew's nervous systems rewired in ways that left them alive, but irreversibly altered. Their only communication a repeated message in perfect consortium standard. Humanity is coming. The consortium high command finally recognized the threat. They diverted warships from expansion efforts to hunt down the human resistance. They established new security protocols. They even attempted to communicate, broadcasting offers of negotiation. Humanity's response came in the form of a simultaneous attack on 7 consortium worlds. Not military bases or outposts, but civilian population centers. The weapons used weren't designed for complete destruction, but for psychological impact. Targeted infections that affected only specific species, quantum distortion fields that warped perception, nanite swarms that reconfigured public spaces into grotesque monuments. No one died in these attacks, but millions would never sleep peacefully again. Colonel Reeves, now general of what had become known as the Human Vengeance Fleet, addressed his commanders after this operation. The holographic faces looking back at him showed the toll of their campaign. Hollow eyes, grim expressions, the weight of necessary atrocity evident in every feature. They thought they could exterminate us like vermin, Reeves said. They never understood what humans truly are. We're not just another species evolved for survival. We're born of a planet that tried to kill us at every turn. Our history is written in the blood of those who underestimated us. He looked at each face in turn before continuing. The consortium has begun evacuating worlds near human space. They're calling us demons, monsters beyond rational comprehension. Good. Fear is a weapon more powerful than any we could build, and they've only begun to learn what it means to fear humanity. And so the war entered its next phase. Humanity was no longer fighting for survival. Now, we fought for vengeance. The price of vengeance. The consortium had ruled the galaxy for 12,000 years. Their history spoke of peaceful integration and mutually beneficial alliances, but humanity's intelligence operatives had uncovered the ugly truth. Every species in the consortium had faced the same choice upon discovery: assimilation or extinction. Most chose submission. Those who resisted were eliminated, their worlds repopulated, their existence erased from galactic records. They had tried the same with humanity. The difference was, humans refused to die. 3 years into what the consortium now called the human plague, their military doctrine underwent a fundamental shift. For the first time in their recorded history, they adopted a purely defensive posture. Warships clustered around core worlds. Outer colonies were abandoned. Trade routes collapsed. The mighty Galactic consortium, spanning thousands of systems, contracted like a wounded animal curling around its vital organs. General Reeves observed this from his command center deep within Titan's methane seas. What had once been a small research outpost was now the heart of humanity's war effort, a sprawling complex of laboratories, factories, and training facilities built by reprogrammed consortium nanites. More than 20,000 human survivors had gathered here, united by shared trauma and unwavering purpose. "They're afraid," said Admiral Okonkwo, studying the holographic display of consortium fleet movements. Once a captain commanding a dozen desperate fighters, she now led humanity's growing armada. Their ships are clustering tighter around their homeworlds. They've abandoned 37 outposts in the last month alone. "Fear is just the beginning," replied Dr. Thorne. The physicist had become something more dangerous over the years. Part scientist, part weapon designer, part philosopher of war. The quantum technology she developed had given humanity its edge, but each breakthrough seemed to take something from her humanity. They need to understand what extinction truly means. General Reeves said nothing for a long moment, studying the faces of his command staff. He saw in them what he felt himself: The cold satisfaction of vengeance mingled with something darker, something that occasionally woke him in the night with questions about what humanity was becoming. "Initiate Operation Oracle," he finally said. It's time they learned to tremble. Operation Oracle wasn't a military strike in any conventional sense. It began with infiltration. Human operatives who had undergone extensive genetic modification to pass as various consortium species. They carried no weapons, planted no bombs. Instead, they distributed quantum-entangled receivers throughout population centers on 12 major consortium worlds. When activated simultaneously, these devices did something no species had thought possible. They created controlled disruptions in the barrier between dimensions, allowing glimpses into what humans called the void. For exactly 3 minutes and 17 seconds, every being within range experienced visions of absolute cosmic horror, realities where physics broke down, where time ran backward, where consciousness itself was an aberration. No physical damage occurred, but the psychological impact was devastating. Panic swept through the consortium. Religious cults formed overnight, proclaiming the end of existence. Suicides spiked across all species. Military discipline collapsed in some sectors as troops refused orders, convinced reality itself was unraveling. "The Veldran hegemony has requested direct communication," announced Communications Officer Lin, her voice carefully neutral despite the implications. The Veldran were the oldest and most powerful consortium species, their silicon-based biology granting them lifespans measured in millennia. They had been the architects of humanity's planned extinction. "Put them through," ordered Reeves. The holographic form that materialized bore little resemblance to the elegant crystalline beings humans had first encountered. This Veldran structure was disordered, fracture lines visible throughout its translucent body, physical manifestations of psychological trauma. "We wish to discuss terms of surrender," the Veldran said without preamble, its voice a discordant harmonic that conveyed both fear and desperation. "Surrender?" Reeves kept his expression neutral. "The consortium doesn't surrender. You exterminate or assimilate. Those are your only modes of interaction. You have proven yourselves beyond our understanding," replied the Veldran. "The High Synod has authorized complete withdrawal from all human territories. Reparations can be negotiated. We ask only that you cease whatever you have been doing to reality itself." Admiral Okonkwo leaned forward. 83% of our species is dead because of you. Entire planets sterilized. Children vaporized. And you think you can negotiate? What would satisfy humanity?" The Veldran's form flickered, fracture lines deepening. "What outcome do you seek?" The question hung in the air. What did humanity want? Total extinction of their enemies. Dominion over the galaxy. The question had haunted Reeves for months as human victories mounted and consortium resistance crumbled. "Unconditional surrender," Reeves finally said. "The complete dismantling of the consortium. Each member species confined to their homeworld for a period of no less than 500 years, with human oversight. All military technology surrendered. All historical records preserved and made public so the galaxy knows what you truly are." "Genocide would be more merciful," whispered the Veldran. "Yes," agreed Reeves. "It would be. Remember that when you present our terms to your High Synod, you have 48 hours to comply." When the transmission ended, silence filled the command center. It was Lieutenant Commander Takeda who finally spoke, his voice soft but firm. "Sir, are we becoming what we fought against?" The question struck at the heart of what kept Reeves awake at night. Humanity had survived by becoming something terrible, something that made ancient, powerful species tremble. What would happen when the war ended? Could they set aside the monsters they'd become? "We're doing what's necessary," Reeves replied, not entirely believing his own words. "Gather the command staff. If they accept our terms, we need to be ready for the next phase." The consortium surrendered 3 days later, after a final desperate attack on Titan was repelled with horrifying ease. Human quantum displacement technology had advanced to the point where entire consortium fleets could be shifted partially out of phase with normal spacetime, their crews experiencing subjective decades while only minutes passed outside. By the time the ships rematerialized, those aboard had either died or gone irrevocably insane. The formal surrender ceremony took place on Mars, amid the ruins of humanity's first extrasolar colony. Representatives from all 12 consortium species knelt before the human delegation, signing agreements that would fundamentally reshape galactic politics for centuries. News spread quickly to other spacefaring races outside the consortium's influence. Species that had hidden in the shadows of the galaxy, fearful of drawing the consortium's attention, now sent cautious diplomatic overtures to humanity. They brought gifts, pledges of friendship, desperate assurances that they had never supported the consortium's aggression. Humanity accepted these gestures with cold calculation. Trust had become a luxury they could no longer afford. 5 years after the surrender, General Reeves stood on the observation deck of the UES Vengeance, watching as human oversight forces established another monitoring station above the Lax-Cori homeworld. Below, once proud cities lay partially dismantled, their technology confiscated, their population restricted from space travel. "General, may I have a word?" The voice belonged to Dr. Eliza Thorne, her once youthful face now lined with age beyond her years, the cost of pushing human science beyond its limits. "Of course, Doctor." She joined him at the viewport, her eyes not on the planet below, but on the stars beyond. "I've been reviewing the data from our quantum border patrols. There's something out there, beyond the galactic rim. Something moving our way." Reeves felt a chill that had nothing to do with the ship's temperature. Hostile. Unknown. But massive. And organized. She handed him a data tablet. "Initial readings suggest technology unlike anything we've encountered, not consortium-derived. How long do we have?" 10 years. Perhaps 15. She finally looked at him. "We need to decide who we are before they arrive, Marcus. Are we going to be the monsters the consortium made us, or something else?" The question echoed his own thoughts. Humanity now controlled most of the known galaxy, either directly or through the fear their name inspired. Children born after the war knew only stories of Earth's near extinction and humanity's terrible rise to power. They were raised on tales of necessary atrocity, of innovation born from desperation. What would they become when faced with a new threat? Would they negotiate, or would they strike first with all the terrible weapons humanity had developed? "We should gather the council," Reeves said finally. "If there's something coming, all humans need to decide our path forward, not just those of us who remember the war." As they turned to leave, Reeves took one last look at the subjugated world below. The galaxy now trembled at humanity's name, but fear was a poor foundation for a civilization. If humanity was to survive whatever approached from beyond the rim, perhaps they needed to remember what they had been fighting for in the first place. Not just survival, but the right to determine their own destiny. The price of vengeance had been their humanity. The question now was whether they could reclaim it before the next war began. As the UES Vengeance powered up its quantum drives, preparing to return to Titan, a message arrived from one of the border outposts. Strange signals detected, patterns unlike anything in their databases. The darkness between galaxies was no longer empty. And humanity, the monster that had conquered one galaxy, prepared to face whatever nightmare emerged from the void.